very opportune that this comes up while we're celebrating the first stages of an important process of working between governments and non-party stakeholders. So with that in mind, I can go back to my written script and move on, just to stress that we, as I said earlier, believe that we cannot do this alone, governments cannot do it, and non-party stakeholders are integral. With that in mind, we must start by congratulating the high-level champions and the Marrakesh Partnership on successfully concluding the Global Climate Action Marrakesh Partnership Program. The various panels, sessions, and events held therein provided us all with important ideas and recommendations on how to further mobilize and elevate the activities of non-state actors within the global climate action. The COP27 presidency extends its deep appreciation to our own high-level climate champion, Dr. Mahmoud Mohyeddin, for his dedicated efforts and transformational role during his 2 years tenure, through mobilizing and coordinating the efforts of non-state actors, including cities, subnational regions, businesses, investors, and civil society, to drive scalable, tangible climate solutions that foster innovation, inspire action, and accelerate implementation. Dr. Mohyeddin, in close collaboration and partnership with COP27 climate champion Nigel Topping, who's with us today, and the COP28 climate champion, Her Excellency Razan Al-Mubarak, who's also here, were able together to build upon and push forward the existing intensive level of dialogue and practical interaction with all non-state actors across the globe to take their contribution to global climate action to the next level. And I'll demonstrate what exactly they did. In particular, the COP27 presidency is proud of the successful partnership with the high-level champions in launching and operationalizing the Sharm el-Sheikh Adaptation Agenda. That represents a global, transformative solutions agenda to foster adaptation and resilience. We also commend Dr. Mohyeddin for his instrumental role in holding the regional platforms for climate projects as an innovative and pioneering initiative to mobilize investment in concrete projects in climate mitigation and adaptation. I was privileged to have participated in the opening and closing and attending some of those roundtables, and they were amazing. You see real projects coming to fruition through these partnerships, finding funding and taking them from the idea phase to the actual practical implementation phase. On a parallel note, the COP27 presidency wants to also congratulate Dr. Mohyeddin on his success as facilitator of the second replenishment process of the Green Climate Fund. He exerted tireless efforts in that regard during 2023, which contributed to reaching a record funding level for the Green Climate Fund. As of December 2023, 31 countries pledged support to the Green Climate Fund with a total of US $12.8 billion over the next 4 years, and that is the highest replenishment that we've seen since the inception of the Green Climate Fund. Dr. Mohyeddin, despite this being the end of your tenure in this regard, and I should confess that I am partly responsible for dragging you into this process, but I think we chose wisely and well. Your enthusiasm, your commitment, your devotion to this cause has been unparalleled. We are extremely touched by the efforts that you've put, and many people who have corresponded with us attest to the fact that you have done a stellar job that made us very proud. We thank you very much. We trust that you'll continue to provide this process with insights, with contributions as we move forward. So thank you very much, and thank you all for listening.
Ambassador Waheed, thank you very much for these important remarks, and we're grateful for the important work of the COP27 presidency, particularly in opening the space to allow bold conversations on climate finance and elevating the narrative of both adaptation and resilience, which has given us, as COP28 presidency, strong foundations to build off of. On a personal level, I'd also like to thank Dr. Mohyeddin, who has been instrumental in supporting us over the course of the year. I can attest myself at many fora throughout the year being able to lean on him for his wisdom and experience, and for him to help us, frankly, on many of the items that we've worked on. testament really to what you would expect from a climate champion, and I know that Her Excellency Razan will agree too. So let's give him another round of applause for his wonderful work. It's now my pleasure to invite Ina Pavanova on behalf of Executive Secretary of the UNFCCC to deliver his remarks. Ina, go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is really the Executive Secretary's speech, so you will have to picture him as I deliver it. As the oft-cited warning goes, we should not be doing the same things over and over again and expect different results. When it comes to climate action, I tend to agree. This is why I've been so adamant that this COP must do things differently and think outside the box. Here in Dubai, a fundamental change that's now needed is shifting from the what to the how. From what stronger climate actions will be taken to showing how do we deliver them. Easier said than done, say those who favor business as usual or softly incrementalism. With respect, I strongly disagree. For anyone looking for evidence, the climate action solutions we've seen here in Dubai should be Exhibit 1. I look forward to the publication of the summary report of global climate action prepared by the UN Climate Change in collaboration with the COP28 Presidency and the high-level champions. In the daily diet of bad news, these global climate action solutions will speak loud and clear. This is what from what to how looks like in the real economy, where the climate action rubber really hits the road. There are countless examples that deserve the spotlight, but let me mention a few. The Africa Green Industrial Investment Initiative, backed by $4.5 billion in financing. The millions of jobs it will create, the food on the table, the opportunities to empower women and girls, the healthier economic growth. The pollution reductions that save lives, improve human health, and slash costs for governments and households. The vast majority of the countries on Earth agreeing to double energy efficiency and triple renewable energy capacity is from what to how writ large. I welcome this big win feedback into the COP process as it concludes in the coming days. Here, I want to personally thank the high-level champions for their stewardship in this global movement. Razan, thank you for your commitment to making this COP inclusive and focused on high ambition. And to you, Mahmoud, thank you for your bold leadership over the last 2 years. We have seen over 2,000 CEOs, NGOs, mayors, governance, investors, indigenous peoples, health professionals, faith leaders, and young people uniting to push for highest ambition outcomes in the global stocktake. I have said clearly that negotiators must keep highest ambition outcomes front and center. But negotiators cannot only hear it from me, which makes this surround sound of high ambition voices and solutions here more important than ever. But we still need much more. Now, in the hours ahead, negotiators need to stand and deliver a surge in global climate action. And that surge must be matched and exceeded after COP. So when I say COP can't be just another photo op or a festival of unfulfilled promises, that applies across the board. Let's make all of the amazing solutions announced here at COP really count. Transparency, follow through, from words into actions, these must be more than just buzzwords. They must be our user manual to get this job done. Thank you.
Thank you so much for these inspiring remarks. I would like now to invite to the podium Ms. Samantha Patterson, who will be moderating the second session of today's event. Thank you very much.
Hello, distinguished delegates. My name is Samantha Patterson, CEO of Black Pearl, and it is my honor to invite to the stage our next speakers. We are joined on stage, first of all, by Mayor Baraniko Barrow of the Tene Nano Urban Council of Tarawa Kiribati. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. We are also joined on stage by Ms. Mitzi Janelle Tan, climate justice activist and co-founder of Youth Advocates for Climate Actions Philippines. Thank you. Thank you. We are also joined by Ms. Casey Camp-Hopnick, Environmental Ambassador and Hereditary Drumkeeper of the Women's Scalp Dance Society of the Ponca Nation of Oklahoma, and board member of WECAN. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, we are joined by Dr. Bertrand Piccard, founder and president of the Solar Impulse Foundation and clean technology pioneer. Thank you. So we know that large ocean states and small island developing countries are amongst the most vulnerable to climate impact and the adverse impacts of climate change. Okay? And this makes global climate action not just a matter of urgency, but a question of survival. What progress have you seen here at COP? And what is your vision for enhancing resilience and driving forward climate action?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Excellencies, friends, ladies and gentlemen. During the last 2 weeks, I witnessed a number of remarkable moments. I witnessed the revival of the
Good evening, Excellencies, delegates. Please take your seats so that we may begin. Good evening, delegates. Kindly take your seats. We are about to begin the formal session. This is the first part of the closing plenary. If you could take your seats so that we can begin.
I declare open the 5th meeting of the COP. Dear delegates, we have a text and we need to agree on the text. The time for discussion is coming to an end, and there is no time for hesitation. The time to decide is now. Yesterday, I called a Change Makers Majlis, and there was a new tone in the room and a new spirit of collaboration, openness, engagement, cooperation, and positivity. And I saw a new level of commitment, a new energy, and a new sense of commitment. I also saw a new sense of urgency. I saw people starting to come out of their comfort zones, and I saw them really engage with each other. That said, we must still close many gaps. We don't have time to waste. We must deliver an outcome that respects the science and that keeps 1.5 within reach. When I stood here in front of you as the newly elected president, I asked you to approach this COP with a different mindset and to be cooperative. And I also asked everyone to be flexible. You showed exactly that mindset and that flexibility by taking the historic step of operationalizing the loss and damage on day one. Together, we have the opportunity to deliver history again. We can send a signal to the world that multilateralism does actually work, that this process can respond to what the science is telling us, that it can deliver for the most vulnerable and keep 1.5 within reach. We need to focus everyone on closing out the toughest issues that continue to remain. I need all parties to show even more flexibility to get us to the finish line. The world is watching. Let's not rest until we get this done. Esteemed delegates, yes, we have made progress, but we still have a lot to do. You know what remains to be agreed, and you know that I want you to deliver the highest ambition on all items, including on fossil fuel language. If I can help, my door remains wide open to all of you. You have already shown what a different mindset and a flexible approach can deliver. Now, we must all work much faster, much smarter, and we have no option but working together. We must work collaboratively, and we must work together. And we shouldn't allow for anything to get in between the fact that we have all decided that we will stay laser focused on our North Star. Let's keep that focus on our North Star of keeping 1.5 in reach. I thank you. I invite the COP to consider Agenda Item 2H, adoption of the report on credentials. In accordance with Rule 20 of the draft rules of procedure being applied, the Bureau has examined the credentials and submitted its report. The report on credentials is contained in document FCCC/10-FCCC/PA/CMA/2023/14 and FCCC/KP/CMP/2023/8. Based on the report of the Bureau, I invite the conference to accept the credentials of parties attending the session contained in document FCCC/CP/2023/10-FCCC/KP/CMP/2023/8-FCCC/PA/CMA/2023/14. Hearing no objection, it is so decided. I invite the COP to consider sub-item 2B, adoption of the rules of procedure. You may recall that our first meeting, I proposed that Mr. Ahmed Al-Ghardaqa, a senior member of my delegation, hold consultations on this issue. I thank Mr. Ahmed for taking on this task. While there was an appreciation of the importance of this matter, delegations still maintained their positions on the fundamental issues. As such, I regret to inform the conference that there was no consensus on this matter. I therefore propose that the COP continue to apply the draft rules of procedure contained in document FCCC/CP/1996/2 with the exception of draft rule 42. I also propose that the COP continues consideration of this matter at its 29th session. Hearing no objection, it is so decided. I invite the COP to consider Agenda Item 2G, dates and venues of future sessions. You may recall that at our first meeting, I proposed that consultations on this matter be concluded by Ms. Hana Al-Hashmi, a senior member of my delegation. Based on the consultations, a draft decision is presented for adoption by the COP. I invite the COP to adopt draft decision entitled Dates and Venues of Future Sessions contained in document FCCC/CP/2023/L.4, and hearing no objections, it is so decided. I'd like to thank Ms. Hana Al-Hashmi for her work. I would also like to recognize Ms. Tina Koblesk and Ms. Eneida Rodeshta, the chairs of the Eastern European Group, for their tireless efforts and their continued engagement. I have the honor to give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Mukhtar Babayev, Minister of Ecology and Natural Resources, to address the plenary on behalf of the government of Azerbaijan, the host of COP29. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Dear Mr. President, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I am deeply honored and humbled by the opportunity to address this esteemed gathering of the 28th session of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Our sincere gratitude goes out to the Convention Secretariat and the host country, United Arab Emirates, for their tireless efforts in organizing this extraordinary event. The challenges we face demand collective action and dedication to the commonly agreed objectives and aspirations. Azerbaijan understands the critical importance of collaborative efforts to combat climate change. Strong political will demonstrated by the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan and the support by other Eastern European Group member states to Azerbaijan's nominations to host COP29 have been crucial in today's success. We extend our deep appreciation to the countries of the Eastern European Group for their decision to endorse Azerbaijan as a host country for COP29. The valuable support from the countries in the group once again reflects a shared commitment to unifying our efforts to fight climate change and building a better future for all. Our commitment to sustainability is not mere promise, but it's reality reflected in our national policies and actions. I am delighted to announce Azerbaijan's eagerness to host COP29. Azerbaijan, with its rich cultural heritage and dynamic energy, will be a fitting stage for the global community to come together once again to tackle the pressing issues of our time. We extend our appreciation to the current presidency for their guidance and support during COP28. We are committed to closely collaborating with the United Arab Emirates and Brazil, the host country for COP30, to ensure a seamless transition and continuity in our shared efforts. We recognize the importance of coordinated global response to climate change, and through joint initiatives, we aim to amplify our impact and accelerate progress toward a sustainable future. In conclusion, let me express my deep gratitude to all participants, organizers, and the host country, United Arab Emirates, to the COP28 President, Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, for their dedication to the cause of climate action. Let us carry the momentum from COP28 forward and work together to ensure that COP29 in Azerbaijan becomes a symbol of hope and progress in the global efforts against climate change. Thank you.
This is Azerbaijan, a land where the East embraces the West. Ancient and modern cultures collide, a bright and diversified world. Every stone holds a great history. A fusion of various cultures takes place. And the region is abundant with magnificent works of art which are engraved in our history. It's a land enriched with traditions and national wealth, paving a path towards a hopeful and prosperous future. Here, the old Silk Road has left a profound and lasting impact. A heaven nestled between the majestic Caucasian mountains and the vibrant Caspian Sea. This is the place for those who believe in the bounties of nature, cherish the blessings bestowed upon them, and seek miracles in every corner. A land of untold legends waiting to be discovered. Endless green forests, icy waters, sunny fields, and bonfires that burn eternally. A land of peace, covered with the cool embrace of Kazri and warm whispers of Gilavar. This place is like a beacon, illuminating hope for tomorrow, where living in harmony with nature is a way of life. Hospitality thrives in this land, where friendly and triumphant people reside. It's a land where fresh ideas are born, and diverse experiences open doors to fascinating and innovative ideas. And with its vast experience and untapped potential, Azerbaijan stands ready to contribute to a sustainable future. Join us at COP29.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Congratulations, and we look forward to working very closely with you in preparing for the sessions next year. I now have the honor to give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Marina Silva, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change of Brazil, to address the plenary on behalf of the government of Brazil, the host of COP30. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Senhor Presidente, agradecemos às partes pela confiança demonstrada ao Brasil quando nos delegam a responsabilidade de sediar a COP30. Agradecemos ao Grupo da América Latina e Caribe por ter indicado o Brasil. É com grande satisfação que informo nossa decisão de realizar a COP de 2025 na Amazônia brasileira, um bioma essencial para conter o aquecimento global. A COP30 será realizada na cidade de Belém, capital do estado do Pará. Sabemos que a COP30 será chave para a definição das novas NDC, que até lá serão apresentadas e que serão fundamentais para que possamos alcançar a missão de 1,5 graus. Estou especialmente tocada pela indicação da Amazônia, onde nasci e cresci para receber esta conferência. A Amazônia é um símbolo vivo da semente que plantamos na Rio 92, uma região onde é evidente a conexão entre as 3 convenções que assinamos naquela ocasião: a Convenção da Biodiversidade, a Convenção Quadro de Clima e a Convenção sobre Desertificação. A Amazônia nos mostra o quanto as convenções estão entrelaçadas nos seus desafios, mas também nas soluções sinérgicas que abarcam. Agradecemos a presidência da COP28 por sua hospitalidade e pelo senso de urgência que insta em todos nós para que saiamos daqui com resultados concretos, não só no tema de perdas e danos, mas também no balanço global, incluindo o que temos e todos esperamos. Uma decisão que nos conduza à construção coletiva de uma nova matriz energética que o planeta e a humanidade demandam para a sua sobrevivência. Uma matriz caracterizada pelo acentuado aumento das fontes renováveis de energia e a simultânea redução da dependência dos combustíveis fósseis. Saudamos a escolha do Azerbaijão como país anfitrião da COP29. Sabemos do desafio que lá teremos com a necessidade de alinhamento dos temas de financiamento e meios de implementação, as ambições de mitigação que podem nos levar ao desafio de 1,5 graus. Entendemos nossa responsabilidade de caminharmos juntos da Estrela do Norte para o Cruzeiro do Sul dos céus da Amazônia. Muito obrigada.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and congratulations to Brazil. I invite the COP to return to Agenda Sub-Item 3A, Report of the Subsidiary Body for Scientific and Technological Advice. I thank Harry Vroels, Chair of the SBSTA, for the important results that the SBSTA has delivered, on which he reported at our 4th plenary meeting on 8th December. The SBSTA recommended a decision for consideration and adoption by the COP under this agenda item. I invite the COP to adopt the draft decision entitled Sixth Assessment Report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change contained in document FCCC/substa/2023/4/ADD.1. Hearing no objection, it is so decided. I invite the COP to retain to agenda sub-item 3B, report of the subsidiary body for implementation. I thank Ambassador Nabil Munir, chair of the SPI, for the important results that the SPI has delivered, on which he reported during the 4th plenary meeting on 8th December. The SPI recommended a decision for consideration and adoption by the COP under this agenda item. I invite the COP to adopt the draft decision entitled Linkages between the Technology Mechanism and the Financial Mechanism, contained in FCCC/SPI/2023/10/ADD.1. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. I invite the COP to consider agenda item 4, reporting from and review of parties included in Annex 1 to the Convention. This matter was considered by the SPI. I'd like to inform the COP that the consideration of this matter could not be completed by the SPI at this session, and that matter will be included in the provisional agendas for SPI 60 in accordance with Rule 16 of the draft rules of procedures being applied. I invite the COP to consider agenda item 5, reporting from parties not included in Annex 1 to the Convention. This matter was considered by the SPI with regard to information contained in national communications from parties not included in Annex 1 to the Convention. I would like to inform the COP that the consideration of this matter could not be completed by the SPI at this session, and that the matter will be included in the provisional agenda for its next session in accordance with Rule 16 of the draft rules of procedures being applied. With regard to provision of financial and technical support for reporting from non-Annex 1 parties, the SPI agreed to continue consideration at SPI 60. With regard to the summary reports on the technical analysis of biennial update reports of non-Annex 1 parties, the SPI adopted conclusions at its closing plenary on 6 December. I invite the COP to consider agenda item 6, report of the Adaptation Committee and review of the progress, effectiveness and performance of the Adaptation Committee. These matters were considered by the SUBSTA and the SPI. I'd like to inform the COP that the consideration of these matters could not be completed by the subsidiary bodies at this session, and that the matters will be included in the provisional agendas of SB 16 in accordance with Rule 16, SB 60 in accordance with Rule 16 of the draft rules of procedures being applied. I invite the COP to consider agenda item 9, development and transfer of technologies and implementation of the technology mechanism, joint annual report of the Technology Executive Committee and the Climate Technology Center and Network. This matter was considered by the subsidiary bodies, and a decision was recommended for consideration and adoption by the COP. I invite the COP to adopt the draft decision entitled Enhancing Climate Technology Development and Transfer through the Technology Mechanism contained in FCCC/SB/2023/L.9. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. I invite the COP to consider agenda item 10, capacity building under the Convention. This matter was considered by the SPI, and 2 decisions were recommended for consideration and adoption by the COP. I invite the COP to adopt the draft decision entitled Annual Technical Progress Report of the Paris Committee on Capacity Building for 2023, contained in document FCCC/SPI/2023/L.18, and draft decision entitled Terms of Reference for the second review of the Paris Committee on Capacity Building, contained in document FCCC/SPI/2023/10/ADD.1. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. In addition, I invite the COP to consider the other draft decision entitled Terms of Reference for the second review of the Paris Committee on Capacity Building, contained in document FCCC/SPI/2023/10/ADD.1, and to recommend it for consideration and adoption by the CMA. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. I invite the COP to consider Agenda Item 11, matters relating to the least developed countries. This matter was considered by the SPI. I'd like to inform you that the SPI adopted conclusions at its closing plenary on 6 December. I invite the COP to consider Agenda Item 13, Gender and Climate Change. This matter was considered by the SPI and the decision was recommended for consideration and adoption by the COP. I invite the COP to adopt draft decision entitled Gender and Climate Change, contained in document FCCC/SBI/2023/L.17. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. I invite the COP to consider Agenda Item 16, Administrative, Financial and Institutional Matters. I invite the COP to consider Sub-Item 16A, Budgetary and Financial Matters. This matter was considered by the SPI and 2 decisions were recommended for consideration and adoption by the COP. I invite the COP to adopt the draft decision entitled Administrative, Financial and Institutional Matters, contained in document FCCC/SBI/2023/10/ADD.1, and the draft decision also entitled Administrative, Financial and Institutional Matters, contained in document FCCC/SBI/2023/L.14/ADD.1, as orally amended by the SPI 59, at its closing plenary, to remove the reference to FCCC/SB/2023/INF.12 revision 1 from footnote 2. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. I invite the COP to consider sub-item 16B, decision-making in the UNFCCC process. At the first meeting of the COP, I proposed consultations to be conducted by Mr. Omar al-Breiki, a senior member of my delegation. I would like to thank Mr. Omar for his work. He informed me that the parties agreed on the importance of this issue, but there continues to be diverging views. This matter will therefore be included on the provisional agenda of the next session in accordance with Rule 16 of the draft rules of procedures being applied. Delegates will now convene the 5th meeting of the CMP. This meeting of the COP is adjourned. I declare open the 5th meeting of the CMP. At this meeting, the CMP will consider draft decisions recommended for adoption by the CMP. The order in which the agenda items will be taken up is posted on the screen. I invite the CMP to consider agenda item 2D, approval of the report on credentials. In accordance with Rule 20 of the draft rules of procedure being applied, the Bureau has examined the credentials and submitted its report. The report on credentials is contained in document FCCC/CP/2023/10, FCCC/KP/CMP/2023/8, FCCC/PA/CMA/2023/14. Based on the report of the Bureau, I invite the CMP to accept the credentials of parties attending the session contained in document FCCC/CP/2023/10, FCCC/KP/CMP/2023/8, FCCC/PA/CMA/2023/14. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. I invite the CMP to consider agenda item 3B, report of the subsidiary body for implementation. You may recall that the SBI, at its closing plenary meeting, recommended that the CMP take note of the report of the administrator of the international transaction log under the Kyoto Protocol, contained in document FCCC/KP/CMP/2023/6. I propose that the CMP take note of the report. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. I invite the CMP to consider agenda item 5, matters relating to the Clean Development Mechanism. I invite the CMP to adopt draft decision entitled Guidance Relating to the Clean Development Mechanism, contained in document FCCC/KP/CMP/2023/L.2. I hear no objections. It is so decided. I invite the CMP to consider agenda item 8, capacity building under the Kyoto Protocol. This matter was considered by the SBI as reported in document FCCC/SBI/2023/10 and CORR.1. I invite the CMP to consider Agenda Item 11, Report on the High-Level Ministerial Roundtable on Increased Ambition of Kyoto Protocol Commitments. At the first meeting, I proposed that informal consultations be conducted by Ms. Iman Ustadi of my delegation. Unfortunately, I have to report that there is no consensus on the way forward on this issue. Pursuant to Rule 10C and Rule 16 of the draft Rules of Procedure being applied, this item will be included on the provisional agenda for CMP 19. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. I invite the CMP to consider Agenda Item 12, Administrative, Financial, and Institutional Matters. The SBI recommended 3 draft decisions for adoption by the CMP under this agenda item. I invite the CMP to adopt the draft decision entitled Administrative, Financial, and Institutional Matters contained in document FCCC/SBI/2023/10/ADD.1. The other draft decision, also entitled Administrative, Financial, and Institutional Matters, contained in document FCCC/SBI/2023/L.14 and /ADD.2, as orally amended by SBI 59 at its closing plenary to remove the reference to FCCC/SBI/2023/INF.12 revision 1 from footnote 3. The draft decision entitled Budget for the International Transaction Log, contained in document FCCC/SBI/2023/10/ADD.1. I hear no objection. It is so decided. We will now convene the 5th meeting of the CMA. This meeting of the CMP is adjourned. I declare open the 5th meeting of the CMA. At this meeting, the CMA will consider draft decisions recommended for adoption by the CMA. The order in which the agenda items will be taken up is posted on the screen. I invite the CMA to consider agenda item 2D, approval of the report on credentials. In accordance with Rule 20 of the draft Rules of Procedure being applied, the Bureau has examined the credentials and submitted its report. The report on credentials is contained in document FCCC/CP/2023/10, FCCC/KP/CMP/2023/8, FCCC/PA/CMA/2023/14. Based on the report of the Bureau, I invite the CMA to accept the credentials of parties attending the session contained in document FCCC/CP/2023/10, FCCC/KP/CMP/2023/8, FCCC/PA/CMA/2023/14. Hearing no objection, it is so decided.
I invite the CMA to consider agenda sub-item 3A, report of the subsidiary body for scientific and technological advice. You may recall that the chair of the substaff, Harry Bruce, reported on the work of the SABSTA at our fourth meeting last Friday. The SABSTA recommended a draft decision for adoption by the CMA under this agenda item. I now invite the CMA to adopt a draft decision entitled Sixth Assessment Report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, contained in document FCCC /2023/4/Addendum 1. Hearing no objection, it is so decided. I invite the CMA to consider Agenda Item 7, reporting and review pursuant to Article 13 of the Paris Agreement, provision of financial and technical support to developing country parties for reporting and capacity building. I invite the CMA to adopt a draft decision entitled Reporting and Review pursuant to Article 13 of the Paris Agreement, contained in document FCCC/PS/CMA/2023/AO2. Hearing no objection, it is so decided. I now invite the CMA to consider Agenda Item 8, matters related to adaptation, Sub-Item B, report of the Adaptation Committee and review of the progress, effectiveness, and performance of the adaptation. I would like to inform the CMA that the consideration of these matters could not be completed by the subsidiary bodies at this session, and that the matters will be included in the provisional agendas for SB 60 in accordance with Rule 16 of the draft rules of procedures being applied. I invite the CMA to consider Agenda Item 11, development and transfer of technologies and implementation of the technology mechanism. Joint annual report of the Technology Executive Committee and the Climate Technology Center and Network. On this matter, the subsidiary bodies have recommended a draft decision to the CMA for consideration and adoption. I invite the CMA to adopt the draft decision entitled Enhancing Climate Technology Development and Transfer to Support Implementation of the Paris Agreement, contained in document FCCC SB/2023/AO10. Hearing no objection, it is so decided. I invite the CMA to consider Agenda Item 12, capacity building under the Paris Agreement. This matter was considered by the SBI. In addition, as you have just heard, the COP has recommended that the CMA adopt a draft decision entitled Terms of Reference for the second review of the Paris Committee on Capacity Building. I invite the CMA to adopt the draft decision entitled Annual Progress Report of the Paris Committee on Capacity Building, contained in document FCCC/SBI/2023/AO19, and the draft decision entitled Terms of Reference for the second review of the Paris Committee on Capacity Building, contained in document FCCC/SBI/2023/10 at 1. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. I invite the CMA to consider Agenda Item 16, administrative, financial, and institutional matters. I would like to propose that the CMA endorse the decision adopted a short time ago by the COP entitled Administrative, Financial, and Institutional Matters as contained in document FCCC SBI/2023/10 Addendum 1. Hearing no objections, it is so decided. Dear delegates, this brings us to the end of the meeting of the CMA. The meeting of the CMA is now adjourned.
Thank you very much. The meeting is ended.